I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Well, it's a joy to speak to you. Thank you so much for the time. The film is just fantastic. Orah has a real heat to it that I didn't expect. Like it really is a it was thrilling and terrifying, and it really works on every level. Where did the film come from?
It's a story I've been developing for over 11 years before I made it. So I made it. I wrote it. I started writing it after I finished my first film, Anchor Baby, in 2010. So in 2011, I started it. It started off as a crime thriller about money laundering. And Aura at that point was a secondary character in the story. And then as the story kind of like developed, the character morphed into the lead character and turned into a revenge story per se. I wanted to originally write a regular crime thriller, and then as I was writing it, the character kind of like took over, and it became a revenge story. And then also in the process, I one of my brothers was murdered in Nigeria. I'm originally Nigerian. I was born in Nigeria, before I moved to Canada. And so the frustration of trying to get to the bottom of what happened to my brother, who was murdered by corrupt police officers, and couldn't get to the bottom of it, couldn't get the case resolved. Even till today, they buried my brother without us knowing where they buried his body. So that frustration, I channeled it into my story, and used it as kind of like a therapeutic process for me to heal. You know,
Wow. So a lot of this is based on your own story in some ways.
it's inspired. It's inspired by true. Some of the scenes are inspired by true events, but the story is 100% fictional. The whole money laundry, the whole revenge plot. The part of the things that will be inspired by the true events will be her journey to find out where her son was buried, because we never got that closure. So, and for me, when toward the end of the film, when she got to that gravesite, that was my own closure that I gave myself as a writer to deal with that pain. But the whole journey of the whole story is 100% fictionalized story, that came from me having experiences in life, and but it was definitely inspired by the pain that I've experienced in my journey trying to figure out what happened to my brother along the way.
That's horrible. I'm so sorry to hear that because I mean, the film feels very personal. Like it feels very honest in so many ways. For you, then you said it was a cathartic experience. As you're preparing this film, what was that like? Bringing pieces of you, putting I know it's a fictionalized story, as we said here, but putting pieces of you into Aura's journey.
It was therapeutic, and I needed that because I went to Nigeria. And this is, when the story became an intense revenge story,
Mm,
and it was already going in that angle. But then when this thing happened, I had to channel my thoughts like, okay, let me use this as an experience to deal with it.
mm.
So I felt some type of relief doing it, because the pain, the whatever you see in Aura's face is where exactly my own journey. Even the voiceovers you hear, like at the end when she says an eye for an eye is never enough. Those are the things, because I went through all those revenge thoughts. If I find who did this, what will I do in that process? What was I willing to do? All those thoughts crossed my mind, and all most of them were silly thoughts, stupid thoughts that if you were to carry out any of those thoughts, I wouldn't even be here today.
Right.
So the only way I could deal with it was to channel, because it's still, the pain is there. It's a dark hole like you have to deal with. And the only way I knew how was to put it into writing and play it out. And then now that it's out in the ether, it's like a relief for me, knowing that that's the only way I can fight.
Mm.
You understand? Because I was trying to fight against a machine that, there was nothing I could do to bring my brother back. There's nothing else I could have done. Even if I got the people and locked them up or found the people that did it, it still wouldn't have solved the problem. So with the voiceovers you hear, all those came from my pain.
Wow.
So it was a relief, a cathartic moment for me, like per se, just to get it out there.
You know, I'm glad you brought up that final voiceover, the eye for an eye one, because it stands out. It's such a fascinating, a great line, a great comment. The eye for an eye is never enough.
He says it doesn't even out the score.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even no matter what you take away from the perpetrators, it's never gonna fill in that dark hole that you have inside. And what do? You just go on, keep on living and hoping that eventually the sun will rise again.
Yeah. This is a film that draws those lines. I think that there's a conversation Orah has about revenge and justice. And just the tension between those things. And that this is a revenge thriller. But as you're writing it, and again, maybe you've sort of said this now, but I'm wondering why that, or where that line is for you between revenge and justice, and how we can tell the difference.
And it's a thin line because again, like I said, it was a revenge story. And then when
Yeah.
I went through what I went through, and then I went to seek justice, looking for justice, and in the process, at a point, I was like, anything was justice for me. It doesn't matter how I get to it, right? But there's a thing, there's a line, and if you cross one of the lines, then you're on the other side of the law.
Mm.
So the justice would have been if the authorities did what they were supposed to do and apprehend these people and she was willing to deal with that, just like I was. But when you get frustrated intentionally and nobody is really coming to your aid and you realize like you're here by yourself, and then the human we are, right? It starts kicking in, and you start thinking, okay, maybe if I break the law here, I'm still looking for justice. But at that point, it's no longer justice, it becomes revenge.
Mm.
That's why the boyfriend asks her, you're looking, she says, I want justice. She said, no, it sounds like you're looking for revenge. They're two different things. And it's like finding that balance, right? But the whole point is justice or revenge doesn't even still even out the score, because the person that's murdered is gone, right? Even if the person is locked up, it still doesn't even out. It doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't solve that hole that you have inside. So you have to go back and deal with yourself, and which is what I did by channeling my whole energy into the script to make it something that I can use it as a vessel to talk about police brutality. It's not just in America, it's not just in Canada, it's all over the world. And this is something I experienced and figured that the only way I could deal with it was to put it to my work.
Absolutely. With having said that, and I don't know whether this is, forgive me if this question is a little odd, but there's a theme of luck that keeps appearing here in a number of ways. I mean, whether it's from the son's name to the bus driving by to, at one point they even say to her, quite ironically, "You're one lucky woman." Like, it feels like this word keeps popping up in the script. Why was that something that you wanted to bring in as sort of a motif in the story?
Okay, her son's name being Lucky was like is one of those things as I was writing it, I was like, wow. I was looking for a name. I'm like Lucky because I know a few people. As a matter of fact, the lead character, the lead antagonist in the story in the movie, that's the guy that played Hazard. His real name is Lucky. His
Really?
act, his real name is Lucky. The
Okay.
guy that played Hazard, that gave the order, right, in the film, without ruining anything. The guy that gave the
Right.
order, his real name is Lucky. So I know a few people that go by the name Lucky. So I was like, wow, that's a cool name, but that's so ironic that if she calls this, if her son's name is Lucky and he's not Lucky, right? That's where it started. You understand? When you're writing, it's one thing leads to another. So when I came up with the name, I felt like it was a cool name, and it's ironic that her son is not going to make it in the process. So that's a cool name to. So and then it becomes a layer, and then I started realizing that in Nigeria we have this theme is like I when I it's like a lot of things happen. You say, "Oh, this guy is lucky. This guy, you're lucky to not be here, and this happened. You're
Mm,
lucky this happened. Lucky this happened." So part of you seeing it on the bus, the lucky ones are not yet born, right? It's like a theme. It's like it's one of those things that have like a double entendre. It could be a triple entendre. So to her, it could mean her son.
mm,
To me, it could mean the lucky ones are not yet born in this country,
mm,
right? Which is part of why she left. It could mean something else for another person who has experienced something else in the country. So it's one of those things that has like triple meanings or multiple meanings that it's for you to like figure out exactly what it means to you, and again, when I write, I try not to be preachy. It's for me to put it out there and now for you to conclude what it means to you, right? Without me beating you over the head and say, okay, this is exactly what it means, right? It means something to her, which kind of like made her break out, right? And another the audience member or someone who's never even been to Nigeria could mean something totally different to them. But it was something that started off with the name, and I realized how ironic it is that you're in this country, but you're not lucky. So I used it as a bigger theme in the film. And it's funny how you mentioned it because we were the opening film at the Africa International Film Festival in November. And it was like the biggest line that everyone took away
mm,
from the film was that particular scene of the lorry driving by
yeah.
with that tag on it. Yeah.
Oh, it provides such a what feels like a key stamp at the end of the film. It's really it works so beautifully. Um, I wanted to ask you too about home. Now, hearing what you've said before about having come to Canada from Nigeria, and this is a film that we see Orah go Orah cross the make the trek, immigrate to Canada, and others have the opportunity and don't take it. I was wondering about that tension for you and what it means to find or make a home.
I really appreciate your questions, honestly. Like it tells me like you really took your time and watched it. And I really do appreciate it because that's how we get as filmmakers,
Thank you.
that's how we get our own payback. Sometimes it's not really through financial means. It's like you just knowing that somebody watched, took their time. You could be doing something else to watch this film and you're asking all these very thought-provoking questions. I really appreciate it. Um, your question in terms of I wanted it's kind of a layered question. I'm trying to see which one do you prefer that I answer first, like you know
You can start wherever you want. Wherever you like, you go.
okay, so let me start off with the idea of home. Like if you're when we leave our country, like I've lived in Canada since 2005. So, and I have family back home in Nigeria. Not everyone wants to migrate or to leave the country, no matter how bad the country. And that's what I wanted to do with that character, for you to see that as much as Orah thinks that, she's trying to help her son, right? She's also in the wrong. She's a flawed character. So what she was thinking, like, oh, I'm going there to save these people, because most times we forget that, people, they're happy. You are happy. Your home. How do you say it? Your when your home is where your heart is, or whatever, right? So some people don't like the idea of leaving Nigeria in this situation, like, and moving to Canada, no matter what the financial gains they're going to make out there. They feel comfortable there, they're happy, right? And I wanted to use that as an opportunity to show that. So she trying to bring her son, as much as it worked for her to leave Nigeria, was the right thing for her to do, to escape whatever she was dealing with in Nigeria. Not everyone, even if they're feeling in that same they're in that same situation, would want to go through that same process that she went through. So there's no right or wrong way to look at it. She wasn't right, and I think at that point is one of the things that hit her, that, oh, not as much as she was trying to uproot her son from Nigeria, it may not have been the right thing for her to do at that point. And I think she came to that realization when the girl now said, I'm not going anywhere, no matter the circumstances. And at the end, you see what she did to kind of like build that bridge. Maybe there could be hope for them tomorrow in Nigeria. You understand? Even though the girl didn't want to leave with with her back to Canada. So it's one of those things that we me as an immigrant that came here, right? I constantly go back to Nigeria. So it's never like, okay, you leave there and then it's all said and done, right? Some countries are like that. Maybe it's a war-torn country, you don't want to go back there. But Nigeria is still like a great country. We all have our roots, we have families back there. So most of us, we go back once or twice a year. You understand? Some people more, right? So we have a sense of identity. We know where we come from, and we always call that home. As much as Canada is home for us now, we also consider that place home, because we have loved ones there that we are constantly in communication with. So it's part of the struggle, and that's why you see that in the film. And that's part of, I wanted to show that struggle. You see her going, even when the boyfriend asks her, are you going to go back to Nigeria? She says she doesn't know. She doesn't think she would. But something led her wanting to go back to Nigeria. She went back to Nigeria and wanted to stay, but the country didn't want her. So one of the hidden themes in the film is about family. The film is very big on family, and in this case, family is also the country. Your country of birth is also her family. But sometimes your family doesn't want you as much as you want your family. So it's this fight that she's fighting with her government, with her family, her direct family, her country as a family. So it's like, and you see the antagonist, Mr. Hazard, is also trying to protect his own family too from going to prison for a crime they did. So nobody in this situation is really, clean when you really look at it. As much as we can understand and we can relate to Orah's struggle, when you really look at it, Orah is very flawed in her own ways as well. You understand? So, and that's, I think, what makes the story more human and makes people like kind of like understand that struggle.
Absolutely. Her journey, her story is just incredible. That's what I mean. This really is executed well, and I mean, you can sense that it means something to you. I mean, certainly it's now. I definitely know that it means something. How much it means to you, but I mean, just as a viewer watching it, you can sense that. Lonzo, I mean, we've run out of time, but thank you so much for the chance to chat with you, and I wish you the best for the film. It's truly something.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you giving us the platform to come and talk about it.
Absolutely. Anytime. Anytime. Have a great day. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Don't worry, like you never stopped.